Hello, friends, and welcome to another action-packed episode of the NintenGems podcast, the podcast where we talk about Nintendo games, both new and old. My name is Connor, and what?
Oh no,
You were shaking your head.
It was, man, that was a hot presentation right there.
Oh, word. It's getting hot in here, in this closet.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Connor, and joining me today is my lovely co-host,
Braydon, hello.
What's up? How's it going?
Just cooking in the closet. Got my White Claw here.
Yes, sir.
Limbering up. Cheers. Ready for a good show.
Yeah.
We have a big one.
What you been playing? A lot. Me too. Big bill this year. Episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first White Claw. I'm fine.
Yeah. This really is a pretty big episode. Some pretty big titles to hit.
I don't feel uncomfortable pulling the curtain back and just saying that we couldn't figure out exactly what bill to put each of these games on, so we just kind of decided, screw it, and put them all on like a big triple RPG bill, big RPG episode.
Maybe we'll call it that.
Yeah. Got a few current ones and one indie classic that has been out for quite some time and got a Switch release.
What do you think? Should we start with that guy?
I say we start with this guy. I just recently played Undertale for the first time ever. And
Can we get an ooh? Wow.
I know, I'm an epic pro gamer. I'm always playing the newest releases right when they come out. My finger is hot on the pulse of what's new and trendy in games these days. And I've been hearing the kids talk about this new fancy game called Undertale these days, really recently. And I decided I'm gonna be hip with it, and I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it now that it's fresh.
Heck yeah!
And it's one of the best games I've ever played. So,
Next
up we have Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Whoa, okay, but let's. I'm taking the reins here for just a moment. For longer time listeners of the podcast, you might recall in a past episode, I believe Jake was on the show, that I played Undertale as well. I was also late to the Undertale train, but obviously I'd heard it was cool as well, and I did not like it when I played it. In the time since, we can kind of talk about it. I think I have come to the realization that I played it wrong and was not looking for the right pieces of enjoyment in Undertale or something like that.
I guess. That's so bewildering to me because it seems like something you'd love.
It did some really cool things that I thought were fantastic, but just overall as a package, it did not leave me overwhelmed at the time. But yeah, you just said it was one of the best games you've ever played, and you've been gushing about it since then.
Earnestly, yeah, I mean that. I've been somewhat surprised because I kind of can't shut up about it. I really can't, and I feel weird about that. Because the game originally came out in 2015. It's been a while.
Right. And
it was a big talking point in gaming when it came out. A huge smash hit. It was a one-man show, essentially. It's developed almost entirely by one person, one individual. And it's like an indie sleeper hit, and it just knocked it out of the park. And it was developed in Game Maker. Maker, like the software.
Interesting.
The free software.
Yeah.
It was a PC-only download game originally, and then now, since it has physical releases on PS4 and Switch, and I've seen just the other, a couple weeks ago, before I played Undertale, I saw a papyrus stuffed animal at McKay.
Wow.
And I was like, Undertale.
Yeah.
Before I knew that I wanted that stuffed animal, that plush pyrus.
Ooh, nice.
But simultaneously, I've also been surprised at how many lay people don't know about it.
Right.
I've had a few friends that I consider if not gaming adjacent, internet adjacent enough too, because parts of the game have also been huge memes.
Yes.
We've talked about Super Smash Bros. Quite a bit. And a character from Undertale, Sans, made it as a Mii costume in Super Smash Bros. So he's playable essentially.
Yeah.
And his theme music, the song called Megalovania, was put into Super Smash Bros. And that song has been something of an internet-wide meme for years now. Even on TikTok.
Both because it's good.
It's a great song.
It's incredible, but it's
it's a bitchin' song.
But it's got this little hook thing that's kind of funny to make fun of.
Yeah.
Boop, beep, boop, 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 boop.
It's got a really distinct hook to it that is very memeable and like adaptable to different like genres and tempos, and people make it's just been a big meme. And even especially within gaming, just like things about Undertale have been a big meme.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that being said, the people in my life that I've been trying to like, have you played Undertale? Have been like, no, what is that? Because I'm in a weird point where I'm like introducing other people to it now, but I also obviously feel like I'm like way behind,
right?
And I'm like catching up because I always like post about it on Instagram. Like, I just played Undertale. Someone talked to me about it, and like a bunch of people have been like, oh my god, really? Just now? So I don't know. All that to say, I feel a responsibility to kind of introduce it and explain what it is from the ground up anyway.
Yes. Well, I do have like I think a good preliminary question though. How blindly, how innocently did you go into playing this game? Because
that is a good question.
For the audience that may not be aware, there are larger scale twists and, you know, kind of fun plot points that really develop, and it's better if you don't know what you're getting into.
Absolutely. I think I want to get into spoilers.
I like that.
It's a very meta game, so like the game plays with its own gameplay a lot. Like plot alone, but also just like the surprises that the game throws at you are better experienced blindly and with a fresh experience. So skip to the timestamp provided in the description. Well, I'll describe the game first, and then
okay.
So Undertale, as like an elevator pitch, is essentially an RPG. It's an RPG.
Sure.
The developer is named Toby Fox, and he is known for contributing to like the pretty Tumblr-centric webcomic Homestuck, which was also a big like internet phenomenon early on. Not really early on, but kind of like mid-internet age. When webcomics were a thing.
Yeah.
And parts of Undertale kind of started, he would make ROM hacks for Earthbound.
Right.
The Super Nintendo game. And that's kind of where Undertale, the seeds of its development started to develop. So I believed Undertale started as a Kickstarter project.
I think
it was a
right.
Kickstarter, and he raised the funds to make the game. And I guess it probably got a lot of support, financial support, because it did eventually obviously come out.
Yep.
And so it had like some precedent, some hype behind it, but it was still like an unprecedented smash hit, blew up, was everywhere, talked about everywhere, huge phenomenon. To the point that like in my recent playing, I was like looking up the music, because obviously the music is amazing. The soundtrack is fantastic. And there was a 5th anniversary symphony orchestra.
Wow.
Performed. You posted a meme. Did you post it on NintenGems?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's
yes.
That's about Megalovania.
Yes.
I mean, it was on a story, so it's like a series of dominoes, and there's a tiny domino at the one end and a huge one at the other. And the tiny one is some bozo makes a webcomic about escaping prison, which is Homestuck. And then the big, huge one is a song from a teenager's edgy Earthbound ROM hack is performed for the Pope.
Did you see that video? True. For those uninitiated, there was like it was like a gymnastics/circus group or something like that who was putting on a performance for the Pope during some kind of like session thing, and they used Megalovania as their background music, which was pretty funny.
That is amazing. Needless to say, this indie sleeper hit, it was and is and still continues to be a phenomenon. But the game, the elevator pitch is it's an RPG, to circle back around, where you don't have to kill anyone. There's monsters, you encounter characters and monsters, and everyone in the game that you encounter can be defeated or killed, but also everyone in the game every boss fight, every character can be passed without hurting them. So there's a lot of play with like sparing characters that are threatening you, or if you want to play a darker way, you can kill characters that are friendly to you, initially. And that's the game on the surface. Like that's the back of the box.
Sure.
That's where the concept kind of starts and ends. And then from there, you do get into spoiler territory. The plot is you are a kid, generally, that is exploring outside and falls into this hole in this mountain and falls all the way underground to the land of monsters. Yep. Monsters have been banished underground for centuries, and they are generally unhappy down there, and they want to come back up to the surface to live on the surface world, whether that's in harmony with humans or to kill all humans is kind of dependent on the monster character who you're talking to. All the characters have different motivations, kind of. So yeah, you stumble into this wonderful, charming world of monsters and wacky and scary characters.
I want to mention, only because I don't think we've mentioned it yet. The whole game is 2D sprite based.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And which really can give kind of like this eerie, uncanny look to a lot of these monsters too. Like they're jagged, kinda, and
yeah, it's in its DNA, but it's obviously very inspired by Earthbound.
Yes,
the traversing the overworld is very old school RPG-esque, and then the battles are turn-based, and all the monsters have like wacky designs. Some can be disturbing or a little scarier or threatening, and some are cute and wacky. Like there's the dog in like the big muscular armor that just has a dumb dog face and just barks at you.
Yeah.
Besides the enemy encounters being you can either kill or not, I guess the main other gameplay innovation that's central to it is that the combat itself is turn-based, but when an enemy attacks you, it kind of turns into like a bullet hell shooter. It turns into like an overhead shoot-'em-up game. Yeah. Essentially, you control a heart in like a little field of play in the middle of the screen, and the enemy will shoot bullets at you in an array of patterns depending on the character. One will throw like spears at you from like the top of the screen, and you have to dodge them. Eventually, they throw in different types of bullets. Like blue bullets will pass through you if you're not moving, and so you'll have to dodge around white bullets, but
hold still for the blue.
Yeah, that's essentially the elevator pitch for it. I feel like anything from here on is spoiler territory. If that's all you know, you're good to go to play the game. It's incredibly funny and charming, but I mean, for the sensitive, it can also be scary. It has like intentionally disturbing moments, but also very like tender and heartwarming. It's all really good character work. It's beautifully written, hilariously written, and like skeweringly written. Depending on how you play, how you choose to conduct your playthrough. So I'll say it now. From here on out, spoilers. If you haven't played it, if you have somehow been made unaware of this game, play it. Take my word for it. Skip to the timestamp in the description. Let's go. How did your playthrough go?
My playthrough, I'm still kind of trying to come up with what went wrong, but I think I was trying to get to the end. I think I had heard that there was a cool ending, a twist ending, and I'm plowing through this RPG trying to get somewhere, and it's not necessarily about the destination. It's plenty about the journey, and I think I don't know. I just don't think I appreciated it for.
When did you play it? Did you play it? I feel like I remember it being like this summer, was it not?
It was like the summer after we started the podcast. Like it was very, and so I think I was trying to find games to play for the podcast. You know what I mean? I don't think I had the right intentions playing this game.
We've both been here before, but you were kind of trying to like get through it so that you could talk about it in time for the podcast. Yeah. Kind of catch-22.
Exactly.
I mean, I can understand being in that mode. I really took my time for it. I was playing this to circle all the way back around to your question that I can now answer. I knew a lot going into it.
Okay.
But I also went blind enough as well. With all the meme status of it, the fan base, I guess, the general obsession with it, general cultural saturation can drive anyone away from anything, even if that thing is quality. And that's generally tragic. I don't know. Some things can be missable. Everybody was talking about Squid Game, and Squid Game is fine. It's cool, it's good, and it's entertaining, but it's like fine. Undertale is unfortunately buried under cultural saturation, but it's fantastic. I was so pleasantly surprised. I went into it knowing there were the different routes.
Sure.
There is a quote unquote neutral route.
Right.
But then that there is a true pacifist route where you don't kill anybody, and then there's a genocide route where you kill everything. The extent to which I wasn't sure. I didn't know anything much about the characters. I didn't listen to the soundtrack. I really didn't watch any gameplay.
Which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew that about Flowey generally, that he was a flower, but then he turns on you at some point. Yeah, and the endings I also wasn't sure about. Like, most of what I didn't know is stuff that went untalked about. Like, the characters and, like, the dialogue and, like, all the minute-to-minute stuff is stuff that people don't really talk about, the slower stuff. It's more exciting to talk about Sans and how epic he is and how good Megalovania is, and the music is great.
Yeah.
So all that to say, like, since 2015, I've remained blind enough and, like, managed to temper the spoilers, knowing that it was something that, like, I intended to play someday. And I keep a lot of games and, like, movies and stuff like that. Like, I try not to know about them because I know someday I'll need to invest in them. And then recently I was quarantined. I had COVID. I was looking for something to play on a whim, take my, dive into. I was in that mood where you want to, like, really get into a game, and I got so into it.
That's amazing.
It was awesome. There's so much detail in everything. Like you said, it's like such a simple pixel art game. There's so, like,
it's deceptive.
It's so deceptive. It's intentionally deceptive.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm wagging my finger at this.
Yeah. You have an aggressive look on your face.
It tricks you with the simple art and the simple character designs at first, because that's how it breaks its own rules. That's how it surprises you, depending on what you're doing. I mean, as far as I can tell, all routes that are not true pacifist or true genocide end with what's referred to as Photoshop Flowey.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that alone is like a breaking of the rules.
Yeah.
The fight with Asgore, the final boss before Flowey, he's the king.
Okay.
And he spears the mercy option.
Yeah. Yes.
And he's like, it fills you with determination after that's been the thing for the like that. Are you kidding me? What a moment. It's the game is chock full of meaty moments, and meaty as in, I mean, from a gameplay perspective, certainly it's a gameplay meaty game. Like, it's got great gameplay, but just like as someone who loves a good story in game, story not just meaning plot, but like story made up of characters, plot, the setting, the themes, the context, the motifs used in the music that are reincorporated at certain other plot moments, the differences between the character interactions and relationships with both each other and you, the player, directly across each playthrough is amazing. It's immaculate. It's captivating. I finished my first playthrough in one sitting.
Did you take any certain path?
The first time, that is something else I knew going into it, is that you want to kind of play it blind the first time. Like, you don't want to do pacifist or genocide your first playthrough. You just kind of want to play it
how you would play it.
Yeah, what seems natural. And I did that. I killed a few characters and I spared a few.
Yeah. Same.
I accidentally killed one and it broke my heart. Toriel, the first lady.
Yeah.
I accidentally killed her.
I did too. I remember that.
That fight was great.
I want to pause and just, like, you went over it so quickly, but just to really seal how you used the word meta earlier too. So the example you gave was that the king spears the mercy option, which is both hilarious and awesome and confusing. You know, it subverts the decades worth of RPG games that you have played.
The game is, in a word, subversive. No matter what you're expecting going in, it will subvert something. No matter what you think you're doing to trick. That's where it impressed me so much, is every time. Whatever I felt like I was doing, it was like, even if it was just like examining a weird object in the background, it was like there was a joke there. Like, it's like, I don't know, you just like doinking around the kitchen and there's white fur stuck in the sink because it's Toriel's house.
Nice.
And she like has baked you a pie and you check the fridge and it's like full of pies. And it's just like, well,
whoopsies.
But what do you mean? What you were saying about like when it identifies itself as like a meta?
Well,
because that happens off the bat.
Does it?
Yeah. It's in the subtle subversive way that it does. I think it lays out its MO right off the bat because the game starts with Flowey.
Interesting.
Do you remember? He's like, "Hi, I'm Flowey. I'm your friend."
Yeah.
In this world, in the underground, we throw friendship pellets. Go on, catch the friendship pellets.
Yeah.
And then and that's like when the bullet hell stuff starts. It shows you how the combat works.
Right.
And you catch the pellets, and they're bullets, and you take damage. And he's like, "You idiot!" His catchphrase is "You idiot," and he turns into a scary face. And he's like, "In this world, it's kill or be killed." And he says, "Die." And he launches an attack at you, and then Toriel saves you.
My goodness.
And shows you nothing but compassion. She walks you through the puzzles and the traps for that whole level. And there's something off about it. because the puzzles and the traps are there. And like story spoilers wise, that's because you are not the first human that's come down there, and she wants to protect you. Like that is from screen 1, you are walking upwards and you're talking to Flowey, and then it's showing you how the combat works, that it is kill or be killed, but also you can be spared, and that there are characters that are looking out for you.
Yep.
Combat doesn't have to be an option. It's all right there. But
Sure.
And that's also meta, because it's like the fact that the first enemy in the game is like tricking you already into
Right,
like you feel like
right.
you're going to lose right off the bat.
Yes. Yeah.
And the game keeps doing that. In all 3 runs, it finds new ways to subvert your expectations in fascinating ways.
Yeah.
I beat Sans. I did all 3 routes. The neutral route is wonderful. The true pacifist route is so wonderful because you get all the best character moments, and it has the neatest ending because everybody lives, and then you get to see all the characters being their wackiest, funnest selves.
Sure.
It does have like one of the more disturbing sequences too, interestingly enough. And the genocide route is horrifying, heartbreaking, badass, and has one of the hardest bosses I've ever fought, which is Sans. He's the final boss of the genocide route. Notoriously difficult. Breaks the rules in other ways.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Like, I did not play that route clearly, and so
I don't want to spoil any of this for you too.
No,
I want you to
okay.
replay this.
I kind of think I have to at this point. Like, I'm pretty.
I think you do too. That's like why I've been talking about it so much, is because it feels like essential playing.
Yeah.
For anyone that considers themselves a gamer, or what they thinks they know what a gamer especially, but anyone that thinks that they know what to expect from a game,
Right.
should play this. Multiple times, which sounds like a chore, but it's less so than it sounds like. But go on. Sorry.
Is Sans difficult in a calculator, HP pool, JRPG kind of way, or in an action, Galaga,
action? You can
subversive combat type of way.
The game is not an RPG.
Right.
That's the trick.
I am. Yeah,
that's the spoil.
I'm kind of lining you up here.
Yeah, that's the spoiler of all spoilers. Is that the game is not an RPG. That's the most like kernel spoiler at the root of all of it. Is that like the game is expecting everything. It gives you weapons and armor as the game goes on, but they're pointless. They feel different because even the weapons like play a little differently, and they feel like you get a different advantage. And kind of if you're doing a neutral route and you're killing some enemies and not all, then kind of there's a little bit of advantage to upgrading weapons and armor and leveling up.
Sure.
Can make the game a little easier to pass certain enemies.
Yeah.
But if you're going true genocide, the game is basically fixed along a certain route. It's like you basically can't fail up to certain points.
Sure.
It knows what you're doing. It doesn't feel like it, but eventually you catch, like, you're on a certain track.
Yeah.
And same for the pacifist run. You can mess up the pacifist run. You can obviously kill somebody. Yeah, the challenge there is picking the right dialogue options, doing the right things to all the characters. It doesn't feel like a challenge because the characters are well written and developed enough that it feels you want to. It's you really enjoy the characters. They're all great and funny and hilarious. But all that to say, yes, the RPG stuff is fake. It's ornamental.
It's a veneer.
Yeah. For the because even in the pacifist route, you still have to play the bullet hell stuff. You do have to be good at the game still, to a degree. But the numbers don't mean much.
Yeah.
All the stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Ornamental. And the same goes for Sans.
Yes.
Sans is a pure action fight. You can check any enemy. You can like observe them, and it'll tell you HP and defense and stuff. Sans has 1 HP and like 0 defense and 1 attack. His description says he's the easiest enemy in the game. He has 1 HP. Even his fight is scripted because when you attack him, he dodges. He's the only enemy in the game that just sidesteps your attack, and he's like, "I'm not going to just stand here and let you hit me." Eventually, in his fight, he attacks you while you're in the menu. That's only in his fight. So essentially, the gimmick of the fight is you just have to survive all of his attacks, survive his gauntlet of impossible, crazy bullet hell stuff. He changes your controls mid-attack. It took hours and hours. It did. It was
like
all
multiple
in one...
tries.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
it was all in one sitting. It was one like whole day that I did it, but because I couldn't lose focus. If you forget one thing, then I don't know. It's really one of those like muscle memory things. Like I remember talking about, it was like Sekiro, like the final boss with that was just like it's just muscle memory. Eventually, same thing with Sans, the same kind of deal, but in a different way, in that it just like keeps changing the rules on you.
Yeah.
And eventually, I mean, the scripted part is that once you get far enough, he stops letting you attack. He's like, all right, I can't do this. I know I can't defeat you. I'm not here to defeat you. I'm running out of energy. It's just going to be my turn. And I'm never going to attack. I'm just going to wait you out. And so you wait. And he eventually falls asleep on screen. And then you can move the box over to the fight command.
Whoa.
And you attack him while he's sleeping, and that's how you finish him.
So cool.
It's just an endurance test, because and that's like in the canon story of the genocide is like you're an unstoppable monster.
Right.
You start killing the bosses in one hit, like through the playthrough. And so that's like Sans isn't there to defeat you. He's not there to kill you. He knows that he can't. He's there to make your life miserable. That's literally the point of the fight, is to get you to quit. That is sure. He's like aware of the multiple timelines. He's aware in the same way that Flowey uses the save and load function in the neutral ending. Sans is like, I know, like he addresses it. He's like, I'm not here to defeat you. I'm just here to make your life miserable. He offers you mercy in the middle of the fight before the fight gets worse. He stops the fight and is like, hey, come on, let's stop right here and be friends. And you can accept his mercy, and then he kills you. And then you get a single, like a unique game over screen that's only in that. And I chose to do that because I wanted to see it, and it sucked. Anyway, did I answer your question? What was your question? Yeah. It's awesome. Meta games.
Makes you want to like meet Toby Fox.
Yeah, I kinda. He's probably. I mean, Sakurai got to meet Toby Fox.
Yeah, he did.
He like beat him.
That's more like Toby Fox got to meet Sakurai. Just to be honest.
I think I remember them saying like Toby Fox beat Sakurai in Smash. Like he talked about that briefly.
That would be really great.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting character for sure. I mean, he's probably just like a normal nerd like the rest of us.
But we would be remiss to move on without, especially allowing you to gush about the music for a minute, because it's not just Connor, and that was one of the best parts that I mentioned, was that the music was phenomenal, and so it was all Toby Fox as well, right?
Just about. He had some guests on it, and I mean, he can't play everything. Yeah. There's like electric guitar in there and stuff. There's some like actual instrumentation at some points. But yeah, I was a little skeptical about the music at first. Here in Megalovania, I mean, it's a cool song. Yeah. It's like fine. Like outside of the context of the game. And then even initially, like the first few areas, the music of the game, like when the game is starting, the music is just kind of, it's there, it's serviceable, it's not bad. But it is when the music starts to punctuate the more significant moments. Like I said, like when you fight Toriel, and that's kind of like the battle music especially, but some of the overworld music is like chiptune. Yeah. That's kind of the first point where like the music shifts from just kind of like being just chiptune to incorporating strings and violins and actual drums and stuff. Yeah, and like even where the tone shifts to something more like with a more emotional weight, because up to that point it's also, there's Flowey, but then it's like everything before that is very lighthearted and guiding you through the game. Like again, Toriel guides you through the puzzles, and all the enemies are funny and they're all shy and they barely hurt you, and it's all very lighthearted and funny. But that's the point where it's like, oh shit, I might have to kill this woman to pass through. And that music punctuates it amazingly. It's a great song. And then on a single playthrough, the music is good, but it's only, again, upon repeat playthroughs that you notice how many like motifs and themes are repeated for different contexts. For character themes reincorporated. The game over theme is in Asgore's theme, the final boss. Okay, that's cool. It's like part of the phrasing of the melody in there. Metaton has a theme that is repeated he has like, you remember he has like the 4 different game shows that he puts you in?
Yeah.
Like the cooking show and the play and everything. Like he has a central theme that's repeated in each of those in different arrangements. Ugh. Papyrus.
Papyrus was awesome.
Papyrus is great. I killed him my first time because he was trying to kill me and I thought that wasn't fair. And then Sans was mad at me. But his theme is repeated through the whole time, and then when you first start to fight him, it's just the chiptune version. But then he's like, I'm unleashing my super blue attack! And then he turns you blue, and he's like, you're blue now. And then the music kicks in, it's like, awesome. And now I'm part of the fan base. Now I'm annoying. Now I'm one of the reasons to be dissuaded from
playing it
because I love it, and I'm annoying about it.
Well, you got one guy here who
I hope so.
Probably gotta, because I mean it's on my Switch. I own it.
Yeah.
Like So,
I.
How long is it? Would you say
5 hours?
Start to finish, you cleared it 5 hours.
Pretty much. It's a solid genocide route, notwithstanding the difficulty of the bosses is testy, but yeah, I would say
nice.
A general neutral route playthrough is a solid afternoon.
Which is also, like I think that's a good
definitely
bite-sized,
and it doesn't feel bite-sized.
Sure,
it feels long enough that there's parts that are like where when I think about replaying it, I'm like, oh, that's a little long or something, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
like you need those moments to punctuate the emotional highs, the gameplay highs. It's long enough that I'm like, a playthrough is going to be a playthrough. But it is, you're right, bite-sized enough to where the kind of quintessential repeat playthroughs don't feel like that big of an obstacle to confront.
Right.
Like something like replaying Breath of the Wild or something. Like a bigger 100-hour game. You can, especially with the guarantee that it's going to be very different. With the content is completely different across, I don't know, I guess the 3 cardinal playthroughs.
Sure.
But yeah, I just cannot recommend it enough to most anyone. And I feel weird gushing about it because it's just been gushed about everywhere, to everyone already. To the Pope.
It's made into the ears of the Pope.
and I'm just now catching up.
Yep.
I know you're going to ask. I haven't touched Deltarune yet.
Okay.
Chapters, as of time of recording, chapters 1 and 2 of Deltarune, which is the follow-up to Undertale from Toby Fox, are out right now. They're free.
Right.
They're completely free, even on the Switch eShop, and I hear they're good.
I've heard that as well.
I haven't, obviously, not quite the explosive meme value out of them that Undertale had, but I hear they're certainly quality. I haven't heard anything negative, but I have also kind of been trying to stay relatively spoiler-free from them, a little blind, just so I can dive into them in a similar way. I want to say, having not played them, just because they're free, don't check out those first. Play Undertale, even though it's whatever money it is, $15, $20.
Yeah, if that.
If you have to wait for it to be $10 on sale, great, but you got to play it. It's one of the most finely crafted gaming experiences I have had in a long time, even compared to bigger quality Nintendo polish stuff, right? Anyway, speaking of RPGs and befriending monsters, there's a segue. There's our tether to our next game of discussion.
Well, and I have another tether of sorts. This is a game I should have played a long time ago too. Not this very game.
This series. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've had a busy break since we went on break. We didn't record episodes there for a couple months. And I played through the hefty game that is Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is the newest release in the Shin Megami Tensei franchise series.
Both, really.
Persona might be a word or title that you've heard of before. I would argue, at least in America, maybe the more popular side of the Shin Megami Tensei franchise. They are interconnected in weird kind of time travel-y alternate universe ways. And so you may have heard of Persona.
You could almost say that Persona is a spin-off of the Shin Megami. Even, I mean, Megami Tensei is the first game in the franchise. It's a franchise that's gone since the NES.
Yes.
And the Persona is definitely, even in Japan, I would say maybe caught on a lot more palatable,
Yes.
a lot more accessible of a series generally than the core Shin Megami Tensei
Yes.
series of games. But Persona is like a spin-off, I would say, of those.
Well, and that said, I don't have a ton of context for the series. And so I may say some things that are dumb, but I'll show you dumb here. I did not know before I researched this game that it was a monster collecting game or series.
Boy.
I believe it or not. Like, isn't that amazing? Like, that's dumb, right?
Well, I don't know if I would call it dumb, because, I mean, if your precedent is the popularity of Persona, Persona has some similar mechanics, but I don't think it's quite as monster collecty as the core series, so
Sure.
I don't super fault you there.
I think the other piece in my defense is, like, Shin Megami Tensei has always been a fairly niche fan base.
Cult fan base, kind of.
Yes.
It's definitely had a smaller, dedicated cult following in the States.
Yes,
especially.
much bigger in Japan. Releases in the States are always very minimal, and so, like, it's incredibly hard. It's not hard to find a lot of the Shin Megami Tensei games here, but they're going to be expensive. Like, they're always, the print runs are always really short for some reason, and so it's just a weird series that I had never been able to get a hold of before. But I saw the trailer for 5, I want to say maybe back in the spring or something like that.
Do you remember when they announced it? I remember when they announced it. The eve before we found out Shin Megami Tensei 5 was coming, we were looking forward to the Nintendo NX.
Oh my gosh.
It was...
I don't recall that. I mean, I believe you. I remember, like, in the last year seeing, like, the blue-haired Nahobino thing.
Right, yeah. We got... if I recall correctly, it was the Switch reveal trailer, the reveal for the Nintendo Switch before E3. I think it was springtime. Where we got, like, a reveal of an unnamed 3D Mario that was coming.
Sure.
I think Fire Emblem Warriors was maybe hinted at. But yeah, it was Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming to Switch exclusively. And that was it.
Just
it's
like
coming.
The title.
Yeah. It showed, like, silhouettes of some monsters, like Jack Frost. Like, some of the iconic monsters. But it was Shin Megami Tensei 5, don't worry about it. It's coming. And they probably... I mean, maybe you will get into, like, however the quality of the game speaks for itself, but like, who knows, maybe they hadn't even started development at that point.
Right.
Given how long it's been since that.
Yes. And so now that you say all that, I concur. You are right.
But you're also fair in, like, it wasn't until, like, maybe even the E3 this year, or maybe prior, that we found out any sort of plot or context for how this game was going to look or play. Let alone compared to other entries, but at all.
Sure. Well, and from what I recall, it wasn't very clear, especially not having ever played a Shin Megami Tensei game. It wasn't like it answered the question of what it was,
Sure.
But it definitely piqued my curiosity enough to where I did go start researching. I made sure I pre-ordered the game, so I got a copy, etc. And so here we are, 95 hours later, post Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Very nice.
And my eyes have been opened to a whole new world of monster collecting and legacy gaming of sorts. So I had a great time.
It looks cool.
It is badass through and through. I think is the best place to start is just like when you hear monster collecting, you think Pokemon. Like you can't convince me that's not most people's go-to.
Sure.
But you think of cute. You can go straight to blood and badass because they're demons. I guess that's worth saying.
If I may,
yeah.
And this has been a franchise consistent, is that the game is monster collecting, but it is drawing from and combining and then stylizing, like in that order, kind of real life mythologies.
Yes.
Real life mythos. Greek mythology, definitely Christian mythology.
Absolutely.
A lot of Christian, and I mean, as far as like everything that it draws from, that's kind of Japanese folklore.
Sure.
For certain.
100%.
But
really,
you can go further from there. You would know better than me.
Yeah. So,
but I do know that like Yahweh is like in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's true. Like I'll get into some of the bigger names, I guess. But the base story is God separated knowledge and life. Demons had knowledge, humans had life. And they were separate. They weren't to ever come together because that would make them as powerful as God. And they called this combination a Nahobino. I have no idea what that means, but the blue-haired character you see, that you play as, it is a demon and a human that have managed to come together, and so you are the first Nahobino in ages. The demons are starting to realize, okay, like, maybe we should revolt against God.
Try to overthrow him, I guess?
Yes, because... For power. There's just an incredible hierarchy, kind of all the different mythologies, like you said. Like, there's Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Hindu, Christian. I don't know if I noticed any Muslim.
Really? No, Muhammad in particular?
I
by
don't
name,
think...
at least?
Well, and, fair play, because, I mean, he's not supposed to be depicted in Islam, and so maybe it's a respect thing.
Ties to Christianity, I guess.
Yeah.
Mythos-wise?
Yes. So once some of the heavy hitters realize what exactly is going on, for example, like, of course, Zeus and Odin, and then, like, Shiva from Hinduism. It's very interesting seeing the gods that they choose to represent kind of entire mythologies, but they really do tap into so many different cultures from around the world, and it's fascinating when you read the descriptions for all these different demons. They tell you what they're from and what they're about and what their story is. And so as cheesy as it is, it feels like you're learning something along the way too.
Yeah,
it feels partially educational, which is like the stupidest thing to say. But I feel like
Mom, I'm not killing God with using Satan.
Yeah, right.
I am learning Greek mythology.
Yeah, exactly. The story was good. I liked the overarching, like, hugeness of God versus the rest of the gods and things like that. But when the humans kind of started getting involved, like, I didn't really care for the intersection into reality that they chose to take. Like, I know Shin Megami Tensei is always in Tokyo. Yeah. Like, it's always Japanese-centric.
It's like modern day. There's always, in Persona 2, there's always like a tie to like modern day Japan.
Yes. And so I wish I could come up with more location names, but it's absolutely using real Tokyo locations for the different maps that you visit and things like that. And so there's something that is perhaps just unrelatable to me, or just doesn't appeal to me. Like, Japanese... Yeah, like Japanese, like, classroom genre, like an anime and stuff. That's just never really appealed to me. Sure. And so...
that's a little oversaturated. Like, I mean, the modern contemporary Japanese, like, school and city setting is very much like an oversaturated setting in Japanese media, kind of, that we get over here, especially in the States. So that's fair. That pales in comparison to the epic mixing of all mythologies on Earth, let alone the stylization of all of them.
Then, on top of all that, is a form of monster collecting. Is there a better term I should be using? Monster raising?
Recruiting?
Well, I just mean, like, for the genre in general.
Oh. No. I think that's it's very much a genre.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any...
Monster collecting are the two words that people use, though, you think? Because I feel like...
nothing else comes to mind. Yeah. Nothing, you would think something a little catchier, fewer syllables or something. Mm-hmm. But nothing springs to mind.
Sure.
Not saying there isn't, but for the moment. Moncols,
yes. Perfect. I have now learned a new monster collecting method, which, like you said, is there's no Pokeballs. It's pretty interesting, and it's been this way since the beginning of the franchise. You talk to the demons. You make conversation with them. The option, I believe, is literally talk, and you try to answer their questions in ways that would appeal to that individual demon, perhaps, in hopes that they will join you. Which, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's crude, sometimes it really depends on the demon you're talking to, which is a lot of fun. So this game is rated M. Like, some of the more sexualized demons will think that you're trying to flirt with them, and you need to decide whether they want you to flirt with them or not. And, like, that's just, like, such a weird example.
Sure, I mean, it makes sense.
But then Jack Frost, which I had never known was from Shin Megami Tensei. I just
Really?
thought he was freaking snowboard kids or something.
Close.
You know, hee-ho, what do you,
Yeah.
you know, what do you want to be friends? And
He's just a little bitch.
yeah,
He's just
yeah.
a little jackass.
Yeah, he's annoying. It's very interesting. It's not exactly engaging.
The monster collecting, you mean?
The act of collecting the monsters, the conversations, it feels kind of lucky more than anything. Because I've tried to recruit the same demon like twice in a row, and I got the same text options, but I picked a different option and I still didn't recruit him. You know what I mean? Like,
do you know that to be a part of the gameplay? Like whether it's just kind of like a percentage chance, like a charisma stat of some kind or something?
I don't know. I may have perceived that wrong, but I really feel like just sometimes it felt a little bit more luck. And some of them are like, I'll join you if you're strong enough, or I'll join you if you're smart enough, or, you know, and they'll test a stat or something like that.
You should maybe some have like more abstract solutions to getting them on your team.
I think
like,
so.
Similar to fast forwarding a little bit to Pokemon, where like you need certain conditions to catch certain Pokemon, like outside or whatever, to get them to evolve.
Absolutely.
Maybe, that are more than just conventional.
I think that is likely true, but a lot of it really does just fall down to text, you know, options, conversation options.
Sure.
But then from there, so that's cool. You build your army, your team of demons, which are a lot of fun to use. You can have up to 3 demons plus your character on the field at a time, in a turn-based fashion.
Do you keep all the demons that or all the monsters that you've recruited in some sort of storage?
Fantastic question. I don't know if you are teeing me up for that or not.
No.
So that is perhaps truly the biggest function of the game and completes the gameplay loop. You fuse your demons to create stronger demons.
I did know that.
And you are required to do that. You will not progress in the game if you do not fuse stronger demons. And by that, I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about Pokemon. You can take your starter from start to finish. Once you reach level 10, you better start fusing some level 10 demons. Once you reach level 15, you better start fusing some level 15 demons. Because it can really make a difference. And again, it works really well. And maybe I should save this for Pokemon, but there's something about evolution that feels so good.
It's progression. It's
Whereas
it's collection plus progression.
Yes. Whereas fusion feels like sacrifice for surprise gain. Like, I don't exactly know how I'm going to use this demon, but I know he's better, and so I'll figure out a way.
Yeah, but if you have to... So is the answer no? Is there no, like, storage of demons that you collect?
No.
You have to keep them in your party of 3, or swap them out with someone else?
Well, and so that's the thing. They call it your stable. You can, at some point, you can have up to, like, 16 or 20 demons with you at one point, and you can rotate them out of your, like, battle party, but you can't hold more than those 20 demons. You know, you're going to have to start fusing to make more room.
So, but then does it combine the stats or capabilities like 1-to-1 of both demons that are incorporated?
That is like a perk. You kind of like a Nahobino ability thing that you can add. It's an upgrade.
Like, is fusing always worth it?
No.
Okay. Because sometimes, I mean, we can't escape the Pokemon comparison now. Sometimes, like, I don't know, really strategic pro-level players don't evolve certain Pokemon because certain
moves are learned.
Yeah, certain iterations of the evolution line have certain stats or learn certain moves. Are certain fusions of certain demons less worth having than unfused demons, I guess.
Right.
And also, how does fusion work? Can you fuse Zeus and Odin, and what comes out the other side?
Right. So not every demon can fuse with every other demon, but I was often surprised by, like, how many options there were. There are, I want to say, between 200 and 230 demons in this game.
And by demons, that's just what monsters are generally called.
Oh, yeah.
Everything you can recruit.
Yes, are demons. So the higher level demons, like in-game demons like Odin and Zeus and stuff, like I think they can fuse together, but they just make another high level, demon of sorts.
High level what? It's Zeus and Odin.
I would have to check.
Do they make something like really weird and cool? They're
like Baphomet and like the highest tier of gods and demons that you can really think of. And there's some that like I haven't even heard of. It's fascinating how many they pulled from Judaism, because I don't know. We grew up in a weird place. But we did not learn much about Judaism, the Old Testament, the Torah,
like the Apocrypha.
The story of all those angels and demons are fascinating.
Yeah, man.
And all of those angels...
I'm banging the El Shaddai tambourine every other day of the week. You kidding me?
It's fascinating seeing just all the
fallen angels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. And those are some of the main characters.
Cool.
They are God's army. It's fascinating. And so, like, I'm pretty sure Odin and Zeus, like, they might combine to one of, like, the higher angels or something like that. I can't quite remember.
So that's kind of where, what I was wondering, does it make, like, thematic sense, or is it just, like, kind of RPG logic, like, it's often fuse into the stronger
It's kind of just that. There's never really any good story explanation for the fusion. It's kind of just an act you do to progress. Sure. There's one final feature, though, to the fusion that I'd like to add. You don't have to have that monster present in your stable to fuse if you've had that monster before. There is it's called the compendium. It's like a logbook, it's your Pokédex, essentially. And if you've had that demon before, you can pay money instead of having that demon in your stable to fuse with it. And so, game-wise, they are summoning the demon for you for that amount of money, and then they fuse them.
Can you fuse 2 out of your compendium, or does one have to be in your stable? Okay.
Yeah. And so, late game, money, I ran out of money real fast, because I was having to, I was trying to fuse all these high-level demons, and, obviously once you use it, it's gone. And so, I paid bukus of money for some high-level fusions there at the end. But, I don't know, it was really interesting the way they allowed you to take advantage of that, I guess. It took me a while to realize that, because it's, to me at least, unintuitive. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You would think you'd have to have the products present. But then when I realized...
Well, so I think that kind of goes into what I have to ask next, if not, the next, aspect of the gameplay going into is, my impression of the core Shin Megami Tensei series is, demon collecting, demon recruiting, conversation, RPG, everything we've mentioned, but that the combat itself is very hardcore turn-based RPG, in that you really, really, really need to, pay detailed attention to stats, effects, resistances, and buffs.
Yes.
And so, that kind of, as pro gamers refer to min-maxing, maximizing your stats potential in a game, kind of fine-tuning it, which is a popular practice in high-level Pokemon play.
Sure.
Is kind of core gameplay to the Shin Megami Tensei series. You can't get very far if you're not absolutely prioritizing and min-maxing your stats, your spells and stuff that can buff your own stats, or what your enemy's resistances are, and all of that. And so when you talk about when you get to higher levels, you have to spend a bunch of money to fuse particular demons to get certain stats and stuff. That makes sense in my brain.
Yes.
Is all this ringing true?
Yes, absolutely. You're spot on. Precisely the reason why you can't hold on to the demons is because this boss is fire, and then the next one is lightning, and you're going to need force that is good against lightning. And so you start around with 4 turns, but if you hit an enemy demon against their weakness, you gain an extra turn. And so you can have up to 8 turns, 8 attacks, I guess, per turn. Whereas if you just use a regular attack and it doesn't hit any weaknesses or anything,
it's just normal,
it's just
back and forth turn-based.
Exactly. So I think that's the big feature that a lot of people talk about is you're trying to make your turn as long and hefty as possible.
That makes sense, though. That's cool.
Yes.
That sounds intuitive.
It is a lot of fun. It's really interesting trying to come up with my takeaways at the end of the game, because like I said, I was blown away at the badassery the whole way through. The demons are super cool. The animations are awesome. Like, the attacks are actually great. The fights look awesome. The music is really good. I sent you that one track. I don't think you ever listened to it.
I didn't.
But it's a banger.
I believe you. That is something that I also know is the series has been known for.
Mhm.
Is good music.
Yes. Really fits the philosophical, religious tones, like lots of weird chants and stuff, kind of.
Choirs and
yeah.
epic stuff.
Epic, exactly. But at the end of the day, I also feel, I don't know if I'm using this term too much, but like a calculator game.
Sure.
Like,
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just numbers.
I don't think you've said that.
I think I questioned the Sans fight in that
regard.
regard.
Yeah. That's right.
But, but it is very
the polar
much
opposite.
Yes, it's numbers. You know,
definitely.
It boils down to numbers, which is fun and can be. I mean, I sunk 95 hours into it. You know what I mean? I did everything you can do. I beat the super boss. Like, you know, nice. It was awesome.
I mean, it's numbers, but it sounds like there's still plenty of elements of strategy to it.
Yes.
I personally find myself. I mean, spoilers to the Pokemon discussion, but I find myself more and more averse to conventional turn-based battle systems. I just they make me lose steam and lose interest so quickly.
Sure.
But when there's something else to them, something on top of it, like when you're not just pressing attack or using the same attack for every battle to get through generic monsters, when there's some prep and strategy and like problem solving at hand. I mean, it sounds more engaging and more interesting. And especially when you say like the aesthetics, like the battles actually look cool against players to Pokemon as opposed to Pokemon.
Oh man.
Yeah, like I mean it sounds cool. And these are things again, in my own limited exposure to the series, I know to be consistent throughout is like the designs are cool.
Yep. The
gameplay is engaging in this way, and there's an extra layer of depth to it that is more engaging than a conventional, quote-unquote, conventional turn-based RPG, whatever that looks like, Dragon Quest or something, I don't know.
If you go into an encounter unprepared, wrong resistances, like, you will die on the first turn.
Sure.
It's like, it's...
And that's appealing to me, just the kind of gamer that I am, who likes a challenge, who is usually like the action kind of challenge, the Sans fight kind of challenge, but it still sounds interesting. Like, I still like problem solving. It
got to the point where, so I beat the super boss, but I dropped the difficulty from hard to normal to beat the super boss.
Were you playing hard the whole time?
Yeah.
Like from the beginning?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Grindy.
Well, maybe I take it back. Maybe I don't. How grindy? And could you get any sort of grasp of how much grindier hard mode made?
I do think I died like faster. If I was going to die, I died faster. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Less room for error.
Yes.
Less margin.
And so, but it's not impossible. Like I said, it's a calculator. You have to find the answer to the solution. But it was really difficult. I'm going to admit something, I guess. So, the super boss is not the last boss. Technically, you fight him before you go to the final boss.
Sure. There's like a secret hidden super boss. Yeah.
And so I had gone and beaten the final boss and was ready to take on the super boss. There's DLC. I needed about 13 levels. Like, I don't know. I did all the side quests. I think I capped at like 86 or 87, maybe. And you can get to 99. I wanted to be at 99 to beat
super boss.
And there's DLC where you can generate these little XP creatures that will level you up faster. I paid $1.99 for that DLC. I killed Mitamas until I had enough level up things and powered my team up. And the super boss was still hard as shit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it was like you needed to be leveled up. Like, I still dropped it to normal. You know what I mean?
Sure,
I felt like I couldn't do it.
But that's more of a testament to. Sure, it's just numbers, but it's more than just numbers. Like, there's strategy to it. Like, there's there's depth, there's challenge of some kind to it. You have to know what you're doing.
For sure.
It's not just like you didn't just grind. It's not just grinding. You didn't just pay $1.99. You didn't win because you paid $1.99. All that is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
You didn't pay because you won or because you ground. You grinded. You won because you had to do that, but you won because you knew how to win the battle.
Yeah.
I guess. I hope.
And so...
Is what I want to believe.
Yeah. So really, like I said, I had a great time. It was really good. If you've never played one before, I think this is actually a pretty good entry. Because, I mean, like, I felt introduced very well.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am looking forward to trying another game in the series. To see what was right and what was wrong, kind of. You know, what really is a staple and what was an experiment, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. Oh, I mean, what's new to this entry?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, a lot of what you've said about it is sounds like stuff that I know of the other entries already.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much could be different. Or if it'll... Mostly, like, this is the kind of series that I wonder if it would be difficult going back to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously the presentation will be a little less impressive and flashy.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I know to be true about the Persona games as well. Is like Persona 5 is a presentational, like, masterwork. Yes. And Persona 3 is still good and worth playing, but going backwards, there's like less flash to it. You know, it might be a little tricky.
For sure.
And I do wonder about the main series. I know we have Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne on the Switch.
Remaster.
Yeah, remastered. And I wonder if it'll feel more primitive, more regressive, or something. Because most of what you said sounds like it is also in that game.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's a slight sliver of concern in my brain that, like, I wonder how much variety there is to this series. But people seem to regard Nocturne really highly.
Definitely.
And so that will be my next, Shin Megami Tensei game. So I'm sure we'll talk about it here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to.
I'm not done referencing Shin Megami Tensei 5, but I do think it would be okay for us to press on into our final game of the episode.
Yes.
Games.
Yes. Just one more note. I mean, just to latch on to the thing you said about it being a good entry point, it's definitely this is, I'm pretty sure, the easily best-selling entry in the main series.
100%.
Thus far. All that to say, that speaks to its accessibility and its great entry point-ness. For anyone looking to try it.
I'm pretty sure it was nominated for a handful of awards as well, like Best RPG.
Probably, yeah.
I think.
And it's getting great rave reviews as well.
Yeah.
It's even though it's the best selling and even though it's getting great critic praise, even though it's like being very recognized, it's still kind of in that niche corner.
Yes.
But maybe this will be the jumping off point even like the core series needs juxtaposed Persona to get like some more coverage, appreciation, something.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, yeah, games that we also have to talk about. The other
highlight of the holiday season. Wow.
Nintendo's big Christmas seller.
Blockbuster, baby. Pokemon.
Brilliant
Diamond
and
Shining
Sparkly Pearl.
Weehaw.
Pretty Gem.
Connor and I.
Shiny Rock.
I think we agree, generally, on a lot of things about these two games, but we're in pretty different boats. Gameplay-wise.
I didn't finish it.
Yours truly finished it the other day.
Sorry.
How far'd you get, Connor?
I got past the second gem.
Why?
Which part?
Why didn't you finish it?
Bored. And I know we just alluded earlier in the episode to, like, sometimes we feel pressured to play games to talk about them on the show. Mm-hmm. That's not why I got it, and not why...
You don't feel bad about giving up on it for the show?
I don't. Well, and because I've played Diamond before. Mm-hmm. Let's preface that and say, like, Diamond is honestly the last mainline Pokemon game that I've played to completion. I played Soul Silver afterward, but that doesn't necessarily count. I didn't play Black, White, XY, all the ones after. This is Diamond and Pearl was the last one I played to completion. And same for my girlfriend, and so we thought it would be fun to get Diamond and Pearl. She played it to completion. She played the crap out of it. And she also, like, passed me really quickly, so I kind of lost steam anyway. We were kind of getting it to play together, sort of.
Sure.
But she very much passed me very quickly because she was a lot more into it, and then I played it slowly, and then eventually I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had precedent. I wanted to enjoy it because I like Diamond well enough. It's not like my most beloved generation of Pokemon, but I have nostalgia for it and I like it, and there are aspects of this remake that I was excited to revisit. Like I remember getting really into the Pokemon contests.
Yeah.
And the underground is a weird idea but could be cool remade. And some of the Pokemon are cool,
Right.
but I don't know what it is about it. Juxtaposed, what drove you to completion? Enjoyment? Couldn't be. Not on my watch.
So, this was not the last Pokemon game that I beat. Actually, the only Pokemon mainline games that I have not beaten are Sword and Shield, because they're ass. And so...
I mean, yeah, you've played every Pokemon entry.
Genuinely.
Every.
Mm-hmm.
All.
Not
even since Diamond and Pearl, but...
To be in my... So, I didn't play Diamond, I played Pearl.
Right. Yeah,
each generation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I also had fond memories of Diamond and Pearl. I have fond memories of action replaying the crap out of it and breaking some files.
Yeah, when I say I beat Diamond, I definitely saw everything in Diamond that Diamond had to offer.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't play it to completion authentically, but...
Caught 12 Darkrai and 12 Shaman and all the event Pokemon.
Yeah, caught. Fairly. They didn't appear in my box.
No, of course not. But that's all goofy. Fond memories regardless.
Exactly.
And so when I saw that they were re-releasing it, I did not love the art style. Thought that was a little goofy, but I just knew I was going to get it anyway because I'm a Nintendo drone and Pokemon drone. Such mixed feelings. I don't want this to be the case, and I think Game Freak can make this not the case, but for what Pokemon is now, I have outgrown it. And I think I'll continue to buy Pokemon games, which is...
Like, hoping for a change, or...
Potentially. And so, I have some, like, real, tangible examples of, like, why Pokemon is, like, going downhill, becoming more child-friendly, kind of.
Like, because the common argument is that the problem with Pokemon is that it's staying the exact same that it's been for 3 decades. But do you think it's the opposite? Do you think it's do you think you're finding that it's changing too much?
I think it's changing in ways that they are making it easier. Like,
Okay.
it's more, they are watering down the entire experience, basically.
I think that's interesting because I think what I mean is that, like, I think some would say that it's always been watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's always been a relatively more simple, and that they don't add much each iteration, so that it has stayed that easier, watered down. I'm going to say one acronym and one word. Okay,
XP share.
Okay, yeah. Is that both of those? Were you going to say 2 words, but then you were like rethinking?
Yes, I was going to say. I'm going to say 2 words.
I'm going to say 2 words, but that's not really
XP share.
This is confusing, but go on. I'm hearing you.
Has changed the face of Pokemon.
What is XP share for those of us that may not know?
In today's day and age, XP share is nothing. It is a feature. It is like how it works. And it's how it works in Shin Megami Tensei 5 as well.
It's common sense.
Shh.
At
the end of a battle, your whole party gets experience. Not just the monster, Pokemon, demon that battled. The whole party gets experience and levels up.
It's common sense.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
It's taking any challenge out of Pokemon at all. I don't have weaker Pokemon anymore. They are all leveling at the exact same rate. All my Pokemon were level 50 for the 7th gym, 55 for the 8th gym, 60 for the Elite Four. And I did maintain a very consistent team throughout the whole game. I didn't sub many Pokemon in or out. But XP share, I'm supposed to have weaker Pokemon. I'm supposed to be nervous to send this Pokemon into battle instead of this one. But they're all strong and leveled higher than the gym leader I'm at. And so obviously that's always been a Pokemon concern, is like, if you grind too hard before a gym, you're going to stomp them, right?
Yeah, I think I am following you, but I think you're leaving me behind because you're not convincing me, because I feel like the natural conclusion to what you're saying is that you just have to grind. That's why it's incorporated, right?
Back in my day, your day, our day,
yes,
XP share was an item you gave to one other Pokemon, and they gained XP as well.
Okay.
Then, I want to say X and Y, maybe, they made it I do think it was still like a key item or something, but it was something you could turn on and off. And so, like, if you don't want to overpower your team, you can turn it off. And now, I think in Sun and Moon and in this one, it's just a feature, it's just... I needed it in Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Well, I mean,
Pokemon is a joke, and slow down. Slow the game down. Why are you trying to rush me through it? Like, make me train my Pokemon.
Okay, well, see, and this
Graveler hasn't seen battle in 20 battles. Why is he leveling up?
This is why I quit, is because it's already grindy. It's already, like, even with XP share, I was already grinding so much and having such a mediocre time.
Yeah.
And not enjoying it. And I was already going back and fighting wild Pokemon to get my Pokemon leveled up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the one that I was using would just get a little more XP than the others, but I was still, like, it was, and again, it seems like the natural conclusion to what you're saying is you just have to grind even more. And, like, I mean, making it optional, making it a toggle of some kind, whether it's like a difficulty, like an easy difficulty or something, to make the single player experience more enjoyable for different kinds of players.
Sure.
Sounds like the solution, but the natural conclusion to what you're saying sounds like it's just, I mean, it's to eliminate grinding.
Yeah.
And I was already grinding.
Sure.
In a game that is boring.
That's weird,
boring to grind in.
I think you're bad at Pokemon.
Maybe.
I made it a point to never defeat a wild Pokemon. I only battled trainers and caught wild Pokemon.
But even if you battle all the trainers,
I was over leveled. Every gym I was at, I was over leveled. Every trainer, and then I think there were 2 or 3 gym leaders, and then
I was also over leveled. I wasn't having a hard time, but I still felt like I was still grinding.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like I wasn't like over leveled.
Yeah,
or I wasn't significantly over leveled. It was I had no trouble with the 2 gyms that I confronted.
Yeah.
But at no point was I having a hard time, but it still felt like it was necessary. And generally, this isn't, again, I didn't play as much and I haven't played any of the newer ones, so this isn't a statement that I can personally attest to. But what I have heard from other people that I've played some of the newer games and have played Diamond and Pearl is that a general impression is that this is a return to form to a more challenging era of Pokemon. Back, like, this was like when Pokemon was the most
competitive,
difficult.
Perhaps.
Maybe. I mean, it generally sounds like the argument is from the single player standpoint. Like, it's like a harder Pokemon game before it started getting easier or more streamlined, simpler, watered down, whatever the term you were using. And so that's one of the only defenses I guess I'm giving it, and not even from a personal standpoint, but like that, like, I mean, does it feel harder at all to you than Sword and Shield?
You know, I kind of think so. Like, I mean, yeah.
Even with the XP share?
Even with the XP. So all that said, I got to Cynthia, the champion.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. My Pokemon were the perfect levels. I lost to her once, and so I had to grind through the Elite Four a second time, and so they gained a few extra levels, which apparently was perfect. It was a challenging fight. And so how does that speak to the rest of the game? Like, how do you keep it there? How do you keep that challenge? Because, I mean, that felt good. Somehow the stars aligned for that final fight, you know?
I mean, that's...
I'm sad. And as stupid as it is, I still will continue to buy Pokemon games. Arceus comes out in 2 weeks. I'll be there. Even though I think that looks bad, too.
I think it looks cool. I think you're burned from Sword and Shield.
Maybe so. But, I don't know. I'm just scared I'm getting old and Pokemon's not for me anymore.
You gotta play big boy RPGs like Shin Megami Tensei for adults that are rated M.
That have boobies and peeners.
Boobies and peepees.
Demons that poop on toilets.
Bloods.
But yeah, and so that is partially why I wanted to put Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Pokemon in the same episode, to really dichotomize just 2 different monster collecting experiences and like how different they can make me feel. I am sad about Pokemon.
What is the last Pokemon game that you enjoyed?
I didn't hate Sun. I played Sun, and what I liked about it was there weren't 8 gyms. There were like 4 big islands. Yeah, there were, I don't know, it was weird. It was just different, and I was glad something was different. I was thinking about this closer to the point when I'd beaten the game. I think the gym system and the Elite Four, I don't think that's modern anymore.
Oh, probably. You're probably right. It's definitely, like, the structure is... Like that's the
Which goes
so
back
much,
to they do the same thing every
exactly.
single game.
A lot of it about it is dated
Mhm.
fundamentally.
If they can come up with a new
That's why it's boring
form
to me.
of structure.
Yeah, it's boring to me.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
is why I got bored with it, and why is I think part of why it's getting frustrating to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just to touch on, I feel like the leveling thing and
Mhm.
like the leveling ramp, I guess kind of like a challenge curve that
Mhm.
would be normal in most action-centric games is kind of easier, maybe not easier, but like a different kind of adaptation. But like a
Mhm.
challenge curve for an RPG is like, that's kind of a broad structural problem with RPGs, is that you can grind in any of them
Sure.
to trivialize any problem. That's
Uh-huh.
like that's something you can do in every RPG.
Right.
And it's just about the design of the progression system
Mm-hmm.
and like keeping the challenge consistent. That is beyond my comprehension. I don't know how you plan for that kind of thing, to predict what the player is going to do,
Right.
to make it fun.
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, that's Undertale is perfect how it is,
Yeah.
because there's a little bit of grinding that appears to be there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's turn based, but it's turn based. It's like Paper Mario is turn based enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to grind in Paper Mario,
Right.
because there's enough else there to where you are leveling up along with the game, but there's enough. If you're under leveled, there's enough like items and extra stuff to like kind of fluff up
Sure.
your attacks and gameplay and everything. And if you're over leveled, you're kind of still having the same amount of fun.
Yes.
But I don't know, Pokemon just doesn't. It feels like the hook is still like catching all the monsters,
Mhm.
and that isn't enough anymore. Because
Mm-mm.
I mean, especially
you can't even do it anymore.
You can't even do it anymore. Diamond and Pearl's Pokemon are not the most exciting
Mm-hmm.
ever. I don't know.
I've been very bitter about Arceus, mostly because I just don't feel like they've shown us much. And so, like, I just hope it's fun. You know what I mean? I hope it's kind of fun, and I'll be happy. It's the direction Pokemon needs to go. Absolutely. Like, both visually and just
I think everything needs to be Breath of the Wild.
as a whole. But I mean, like,
do you see the Sonic trailer?
Oh my god.
Looks awesome.
Yes, it does.
If anything needs to be a huge open world, it's Sonic.
Yes.
Here for it.
Yes.
Anyway.
Kirby Lost Kingdom looks pretty cool. Lost Kingdom?
Lost, Unknown, Forgotten Lands.
Forgotten Lands.
One of those.
Yes.
If Kirby was in Lost Kingdoms, that's basically Shin Megami Tensei.
Wow, right there.
Yeah, Pokemon sucks.
We'll give it a couple weeks. We'll find out with Arceus
Mhm.
the future of whether we hate Pokemon or not. But
I think Game Freak is going to find out the future of Pokemon based on
Wow.
Arceus' reception. Because I think Sword and Shield was...
But it's going to sell bukus, and they don't have to care again.
No, I think... I would like to believe that this has the potential to be a turning point for the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always... Sun and Moon did Kahunas. They're like, yeah, or like Mega... Like, there's always some like weird little innovation.
Right.
But this is a different kind of game.
Mhm.
Like, this is the closest since like Pokemon Coliseum
Oh, yeah.
that we've gotten to like a new kind of core Pokemon game.
Uh-huh. Pokemon
You know,
Adventure.
Like a still like...
Not a stadium, not a...
Yeah, not a stadium, not a ranger,
Uh-huh.
not a snap.
Yeah.
But you know, one that like incorporates like is a core Pokemon game, but
Mhm.
isn't like a quote unquote mainline entry, isn't a version.
Yeah.
And I think it has potential to change the course of the progression of the series, because Sword and Shield were not received well,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
Diamond and Pearl I think they sold perfectly fine. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're remakes and they're fine. I think reception was that.
Mm-hmm. People our age, like, wow, that
But I think,
felt good on my brain.
I mean, pretty much just like a dopamine rush.
Yeah.
But I think Legends Arceus has the potential to breathe new life into it, and to kind of draw a new, like, everybody that's jaded about Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
might get like has the potential to draw that audience in,
Yeah.
because it already kind of has drawn the interest.
The curiosity,
Yeah.
right?
It just depends on whether it's actually good or not. And then obviously it's Pokemon Legends :
Mm-hmm.
Arceus, so maybe we'll get other Legends games.
Sounds cool to me. Sounds cool.
Who knows? But yeah, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, 6 out of 10. Maybe 5.
So I feel like you're a glass half empty 6 out of 10. I'm a glass half full 6 out of 10.
So you're a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. You're 6.4.
6.1.
0.49.
Yeah.
And Shin Megami Tensei, 8.5.
Undertale 10.
I might even give Shin Megami Tensei a 9.
I might even give Undertale a 9.5.
Wow.
Maybe. Only because I think the very baseline prospect, truly the only fundamental flaw I can think about is having to replay some parts of it. Like the puzzles that you've already done.
Sure.
Between a neutral route and a whatever route, pacifist. The puzzles are the same.
Sure.
Just for those.
Yeah.
And that was annoying. 9.5. Hated it.
Fine.
Well, that's our episode.
Hefty one for you.
Yeah, this has been our quadruple RPG gauntlet.
Quadruple.
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Fine, you're right.
4 games.
Heck
Let's give it to ourselves. We did 4 games in one episode.
Wow.
It was easy. And it was only a lot of minutes. But yeah, thank you everybody for sticking with us if you have chosen to do so.
If you have thoughts, let us know. If you hate Undertale, let Connor know. If you hate Shin Megami Tensei, let me know.
And if you love Pokemon, let us know.
Yeah, because we'll fight you.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
If you are listening to us on your platform of choice, be sure to follow and or subscribe to us on said platform and or rate us highly if we tickled your fancy. You can follow us on Instagram at NintenGems Podcast. You can follow my musical exploits at weave.bandcamp.com or just search Weave, that's W-E-A-V, and that's about all we've got for you. My name is Connor.
And I am Braydon.
And you have been listening to the NintenGems Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
We appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Love you.